Fight that use. Alright.
So how am I supposed to get you both? Oh, there.
Yay! Hello, Facebook Live. We're coming to you. This is Darren.
I'm Darren.
Hi, Darren.
What's up?
Close to the camera. Alright. So you got your headphones on. Alright. This is our show today, everybody. Okay, we're going live. Okay, microphone's going on. Good afternoon, Vancouver. This is Giuseppe Ganci with my co-host, Mr. Darren Gaylor. Darren Gaylor's present, bringing you Talk Recovery Radio live from the downtown east side. You're listening to 100.5 Vancouver Co-op Radio. And we got a Facebook Live camera going on as well. Hello to all of our Facebook fans. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Last week's show, Darren, 15,000 views.
So awesome.
Yeah, and counting, yes. Thank God my hair was perfect that day. You know, all those views, eh? So, Darren, very exciting last night. We got to enjoy, I was hoping for a cake. I don't know, I hope I didn't offend your mom because I shared about it.
No,
it was donuts.
The thing was, my mom, she baked the cake from my birthdays. What I had at my 1 year cake was my birthday from when I was 1 year old, and then it went 2, 3, 4, and I guess somewhere I said don't sweat it, it's a lot of work.
Don't ever tell her.
I don't know why I did
again.
that, because now I'm curious as to what my 13-year-old birthday cake was.
Exactly, yes. So Darren took his 13 years clean yesterday. His cake. Thank you very much, Darren, for paying it forward. Yeah, thank you. It was an amazing cake. Really enjoyed the inspirational stories. For those of you that have a difficult time finding recovery or showing up or taking cakes, it really is all about the new people, and the room was full of new people, and it's all about people helping people. We can't forget about that in this overdose crisis. I mean, I really wish a pill could fix it. I really wish a clean needle could fix it, but I think all of that combined with people helping people is what's
and I wish I could walk out the door and do something for one of those people, that's the trouble. I mean, for 11 years I was that guy outside the door. You know what I mean? That was handed opportunities and treated with support by people that loved me, and yet there was just, it's hard to explain. There's a lot of, I wanted to keep using even up to the very last time. It's not like the last time I got clean was this desire to get clean. Louise shared about it. I brought dope into the treatment center again. And
why would you do that? What's wrong with you?
Why wouldn't I do it? Why wouldn't you do it if you do dope? That was the we call it powerlessness, but it's just this. I can't do anything without it. It's all my security, it's all my esteem, it's everything that I have, coped and dealt with. That's been my facet of dealing with the world for so many years, and it took a long time to start to learn new ways of coping, and that's the thing. You can't do anything on that one day. You can get somebody somewhere, whether it's hospital or detox or to treatment or one of those things, but it takes some work, man. It took a lot of work to get to where I'm at. And
well, we're glad that you did it, and because of that, you're part of this show, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much for taking your cake. You're listening to Talk Recovery Radio. You can follow us on Twitter or on Facebook. Just search us up, Talk Recovery Radio. You can hear all of our past shows, over 5 years of shows. And Talk Recovery Radio, 5 years of stories, 5 years of music. It's been a lot of fun, and you can catch all of our archives at talkrecoveryradio.com. And Talk Recovery Radio is brought to you by New West Recovery, which is part of Last Door and Westminster House, providing addiction treatment services. And each week we bring awesome guests to the radio. And this week we've got a wonderful guest in studio. Darren's going to grab the camera because we made her.
Because it's your turn.
Because we made her our camera lady, unfortunately.
We put you to work here. If you do an interview with us, you become a cameraman as well.
You become a camera person. Person, yes.
Camera person.
Let's get our pronouns right. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm really happy that you're here. We were talking that you were on the show a couple of years ago, and I'm just gonna have some humility and say I've lost some weight.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was just
he
like,
has. In a couple of years,
thank
he
you.
looks great.
I swear, I think I just lost 10 pounds, just started floating after she said that. I was like, thank you very much. Yes,
You're looking
I have.
good, looking trim.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So we're going to be really nice to you on the
Okay,
show
good.
today. Jillian, I really admire your honesty and your courage. You've got a social media presence. You've got a story to tell that a lot of people sometimes want to hide. What is that story?
So I think the last time I was on the show, I had just gotten like a year sober, and that was great. Thank you for having me on the show. I was, so basically I got sober in January of 2016, but I was introduced to recovery in 2011. Since I last saw you guys on the show, lots of things have happened. I hooked in with this woman, Sabrina Greer, who kind of knew a little bit about me just from my social media presence, Instagram. I do a lot of kind of small writings on there, a little thing, and I had a website and doing a little blog, and she reached out to me about being a part of a project that she had done one book called You've Got This Mama with some co-authors called the Mama Tribe, and it's just various chapters from different women, different mothers, and their journeys, not necessarily in recovery, but in motherhood. And she said, I think you would be perfect for this. We don't have a mom with a story like yours. We don't have a mom with quite that story, and I think it would be something that you would want to be a part of. And so I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. I've always loved writing, but, of course, when we are in our addiction, all that kind of goes to the wayside, and, we have the voices that tell us, you're not good enough, nobody cares what you have to say, that kind of stuff. And she really encouraged me to just start writing. And so the chapter I wrote is called Shadow Work. It's, Shadow Work, I think, is a perfect title for the chapter.
That name.
Yeah, thank you. I can't take credit for it. Actually, a woman named Tanya, who was our editor, she helped me kind of flesh out some ideas, and that's what we came up with. So Shadow Work, after she read my chapter, she was like, this is the epitome of darkness to light, right? So, in the chapter, I do talk about my story, which is, full of addiction, full of alcoholism, and of course of prostitution. And so I worked in the sex trade in Vancouver since I was 18, and I got out right when I finally surrendered in January of 2016. So I spent a couple decades entrenched in that lifestyle, and even upon visiting the rooms, I never heard my story. I heard bits of it, right, but nobody really talked about the sex trade, or at least have I never heard any women sharing about that. And at the time that I came to recovery, I was still actively working but trying to stay sober. I'd have one foot in, one foot out, and I couldn't figure out how to get out, right? But I knew I couldn't stay sober if I stayed in.
So you were doing trying to find sobriety, but still doing things that you didn't feel comfortable doing at that point. Did you feel comfortable doing or not feel what is that?
I think in the beginning, I definitely, just with my alcoholism, I had a lot of fun, right? I traveled a lot. It was somewhat glamorous. I was working in high-end escort agencies and massage parlors, and we had a lot of celebrity clients. We had a lot of athletes. I really did kind of believe the lie about being a high-end escort. When at the end of my using and drinking and of that life, I was definitely, it wasn't really any high-end stuff going on. It was just basically
doing things you thought you'd never do,
and to feed my habit, right? Before it was trips and dinners and this and that, and this great way to make money, but also a great way to kind of hide my addiction. And it just obviously progressed. And by the end of it, if I'm honest, like I was unemployable. I had a few regular clients that were loyal to me, but I wasn't employable at any of these.
Because you still have to show up. I mean, at the end of the day, I always see that slogan, sex work is work, you know, and it is work.
Oh, yeah.
You got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So now obviously the using got bad and the substance use got bad. So, you know, and you have to make this change. Was there a time though, because people talk about stigma and people talk about shame, I mean, did you keep it a secret and then one day you're like, I need to be truthful to who I am, because, you know, it's called shadows, I think, because a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's my past.
Right.
So how do you get through that?
I think like when I was introduced to recovery, I definitely shared about it, and I remember like after I shared in a general way, like a woman came up to me and was like, you know, you shouldn't share about that from the podium. Like,
She did,
yeah, oh yeah,
right?
Save that for your sponsor, and like da 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 da. And I was
How did
like,
you feel when she
I was
said
ashamed
that?
and like just mortified and just like, oh my god, right? Like just awful. And so I stepped away from recovery actually for a little bit, and I was out for a bit, and you know, I that kind of stuck with me. So when I came back, like I would try to keep it a secret, but I think as we learned that, you know, the secrets were keeping us sick, you know, and my family knew, you know, my partner knew, and like they didn't condone it, but you know, they didn't condemn it either, because I was in such self-will and selfishness that it was like, well, you know, like if you want to see your grandkids, you know, you better, this is what I do, right? And so, you know, my parents just, you know, I'm sure like I just were heartbroken, and, you know, but I was honest with everybody around me. I lost a lot of friends because of it, but I just, you know, it came to a point.
Do you think you end up finding humility in your story? Like, I remember being new, and when I was brand new, I always talked about being gay, sex, you know, and then I had people say, hey, you know, like,
that's not what you're all about.
That's not what you're all about and everything.
Yeah.
But then I found a voice, and I found some esteem in my story, and then it became less about, this is my story, everybody take a look at it, you know, mine's better than yours.
Totally.
And now it's like nobody was, because now I've got like pride in my story and self-esteem, because now I use my story differently. Is that what happened for you? It's like in the beginning you're like, here's my story, everybody, and now
I'm totally different than you.
Yeah,
and like
now
I was this high-end escort. It's like now I'm more like I was into prostitution. Let's just get humble and real with it. You know, but I agree with you. I think that also, you know, there's points of my story, like in my first year, I remember always starting with like, my dad was very mean to us, like he didn't love us and he didn't give us any attention, and now it's just like, you know, I love my dad did not make me an alcoholic, nor did his lack of attention to me make me an escort.
Alcohol did.
Yeah. Right. And alcohol so it changes for sure, but I still share about the sex trade, because I think it's really empowering that I'm not in it anymore, right? So that's like, you know, I've changed. That is really hard to get out of. So you can get rid of the drugs and alcohol, but it's that lifestyle as well that's really hard to get out of.
I mean, it's hard to go work 9 to 5 for $20, $30, $40 an hour, whatever you're, and when you could make, you know, $1,000 an hour, $500 an hour, and depending on what level you're at. So that's why I kind of see all these programs out there trying to get people out of sex work. It's like we really need to focus on, you know, the addiction to money as well, not just
money,
the drugs.
To the attention,
right?
And at first you really think it is this like big thing for your ego, and you know you're powerful, and that changed for me, where I realized that like I am not powerful, I am not in charge here. I'm pandering to these men and stroking their ego to get to, you know, what I need. And you know,
I heard somebody share once, a powerful woman that I know, and we're at a meeting, and there's some gossip going around or something, and she just, you know, said out, you know, to all the guys that are picking up hookers still, like, trust me, the hookers don't like you. You know? And I was just like, ooh, you know, everybody's just going down to their seats. Because, I mean, there's this big game out there and all that, and it really is I hope people get through it like you do. Now, drug dealers go through the same thing. It's like, I know people that try to sell drugs clean, you know, and so they're going, is there a lot of similarities in that? Like, would you find, you know, the similarity?
I think so. I mean, I work with girls who have gotten out, right? And I'm really happy to work with them. Like, I'm so proud of them because I know how hard it is, but I also work with girls who are still actively working in the sex trade, and I am not like it's not my journey, right? And it's not my story. And if you can do that and stay clean and sober, you can. For me, like for my experience, I was unable to. I was unsuccessful at doing that, and it blocked me from God.
Just like some people can go to bars, some people can go to casinos, some people
strip clubs, gambling,
do what they
whatever.
want to do, and it's kind of like, I can't go to clubs. I just know I can't. There's two reasons. One, I'm older now. Like I know, but in the gay world, it's like it's okay to be 40 going to a club, but I just don't want to. I don't want to be that guy. And
well, you've been there, done that, right?
Been there.
You're not there anymore.
Oh, man, did I do that?
You're not there anymore, right?
Yeah, I totally did that. So, the book. So so it's called You've Got This Mama Too. It's a collaboration of stories. Not every story is about addiction recovery. Right. So let's go back to your chapter. So what's the goal of it? What do you want people to feel?
So the chapter, which I dedicated to my family and to a responsible member of AA, Alex B., who was the first person to put me in the other book, our big book about Alcoholics Anonymous. And I can't talk about my story without talking about him. He really saved my life. And another woman, my sponsor, Heidi. I'll get emotional because those two people, were paramount in helping me. And I just think back to that beginning, when you get that gift of desperation and, you're willing to do anything to change. And without them, I don't think it would have been possible. And my husband, so my chapter is a little bit about me growing up. It's kind of like what it was like, what happened and what it's like now, in that format. And the goal is basically for me, because as moms, we already suffer so much mom guilt, but if you're an alcoholic mom, that guilt is the weight of it is deafening, right? And, I just wore that heavy armor of that guilt and shame for so long. And my oldest daughter, I think she was about 4 when I tried to get sober. I didn't stay sober, but, so she's watched me get well, get sick, get well. And, I wanted moms to know that, no matter what, it's not too late, right? No matter all the damage you've done and what you think you've done to your child, there is forgiveness there. And, you can recover as a family, because just as much as our disease is a family disease, our recovery can trickle in there too, right? And our recovery can help our family as well. And so my daughter, she's 12 today, she babysits at AA meetings for parents. She comes with me to schools and we speak about alcoholism. She talks to other kids about what it's like to grow up in an alcoholic household. And I'm just beyond proud of her. That is resilience. And I wanted other moms to know that, no matter, in one of our promises, how far down the scale you've gone, it's not too late to use your experience to benefit others.
It doesn't matter how old you are.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter where you come from, how bad you are.
No,
because your
it's never too late.
I mean, we're right next to some housing for women that do the sex trade. I don't know if saying on the other side of the scale, but they're all, either homeless or living in the shelter or something.
And
but the feelings are the feelings are the same.
Yeah.
It's just at the end of the day, those feelings in the morning of
exactly that same feeling. And I have no doubt in my mind, because I was in school for a bit. I love wearing the masks, so I'd always go to college and get a certificate or something. And I was going for social services, and I ended up getting a practicum at Wish, Wish Society. So and I remember serving the dinner or whatever, and I was working there doing my practicum, and one of the girls that I used to work with at a high-end parlor was on the other side getting the meal, and that is, it didn't happen to me yet, right? So, I mean, my heart goes out to those women that are entrenched in the sex trade in the downtown east side,
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculed on social media the other day. I was just posting something about recovery and some of the activities that I'm involved in, and they didn't know my story, and they said, "Who are you?" Talking for recovery, and because I'm clean cut now, and I just kind of got really upset because it triggered this trust me, I've been there. I slept on a bench at Oppenheimer Park. It's just I moved on, right? Yeah. And they apologized and all that kind of stuff, but it's do you ever get that? It's oh, you couldn't have been that bad.
Yeah. And just because, like I said, that's what I mean. And that's what when I work with girls, it's your bottom does not, these girls that are just, in Backpage and just dabbling in webcam stuff and whatever. It's it will get worse, it will. And it always does. Down that rabbit hole. And the thing is that, it's your bottom does not have to be losing your kids. You know what I mean? Your bottom does not have to be, trading sex for crack. You know what I mean? Your bottom can be webcamming and like it hurting your soul or blocking you from God. Like the bottoms don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of, I hit my bottom. It's like, the last time I used and came back, because I came in and out, the last time I used, it actually wasn't that bad. I had a house, with a key, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was way worse before. So it's one of those things, too. It kind of sets you up for failure in recovery, too, because...
You think, like, well, I didn't lose everything. I still have material things. And
would you call returning to sex work a relapse? Do you have a
I would get loaded.
date?
It's the same date as my sobriety date. So that day, what happened for me, I think I shared with you guys before when I was here, is that social services came to my door to apprehend the children, and I was, by the grace of God, 1 day sober that day because my husband had enough, and he gave me some antabuse and he held my hand minute to minute, and that night they came. So I was able to say, come in, I'm sick, I need help, right? And I mean, I got to my knees and I prayed to God, please God, I'm willing to do anything, and I have not worked since, and that for me is not a coincidence why I have over 3 years sober, right? It's the same, it's for me, I cannot, and if I was to go back to that work, in any capacity, I'll get loaded, right? That's just for me, that's my experience,
Yeah, everybody needs to set that standard in their life. What is it going to be? And you draw that line in the sand, and, it's part of your amends and doing
and
right.
How close do you want to be to God, right? I want to be close to God. And I know that, all those times letting everyone else use me but God, I was not living in His will, right? And so when I came in and I still had things, yes, I still had things. I didn't have to lose everything, but I lost who I was, right? I was so soulless, and for me, that's enough, that emotional pain, right?
I want to talk to you about words matter. It's a really big topic on this show. Over the years, we've had people on our show talk about stigma and words matter and how to say things, and you use the word escort. I've been told not to use the word escort. You use a lot of words that I've been told. We use the word clean here, which we're told not to use. How important are your labels?
Well, I think it's your choice and it's your story to tell. In my chapter, for example, I do talk about Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a big no-no, and I know a lot of old timers are not. They wouldn't be happy with my chapter. You know what I mean? But it's for me, it's it saved my life, right? And I will touch on it, and I will give gratitude towards the program that did change my life. For me, I know there's plenty of ways to recover, right? It doesn't be all and end all with AA or NA or whatever, but I'm okay with choosing to use the words that I own, right? It's my story to tell, right? And it's the way that I want to tell it, right? So I don't know,
So would you be offended if I used the word escort?
No.
Because that's where people they're like, well, it's okay if Jillian calls herself an escort.
She was one.
But you shouldn't call her an escort.
No.
Because I was making the post for social media, and they're getting
escort.
to me because I'm like, oh, can I write that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's starting to hit my, because I'm bombarded by it almost on a weekly basis of what to say and what not to say. So I think I just wrote Jillian. I can't even remember what I wrote. I was because I was what do I write? And
I think if you're able to, the more you tell your story and you're telling it with honesty and you're owning it, then words are not going to bother you.
You want to talk to
I've been called a lot worse than an escort.
Me too. I'm just do you know who I am? Here's my stuff forward. Trust me, the word clean is okay.
Yeah.
So serendipity. Do you know Scissor Fairy?
Mm-hmm.
So I just saw her. I parked my car, walked out, and she was just right there. And I was just like, hi. We're saying hi to each other. And I told her you were on the show, and she was super excited because she's been on the show and she uses a lot of raw language as well. And I'm like, we're gonna get in trouble. I'm like, you can't say that. And she just went on a rant about how her story is her story, and she needs to be authentic, because if she's not authentic, she's gonna go out. This is her truth. There's nothing beautiful about her doing the sex trade, and there's just no, what does she call it? I can't remember what she called it, but
she's amazing.
yeah, it was just a great. It's a great. I wish we would stop this battle of words matter, because people are really dying.
Yeah.
You know, they're dying, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what words we're using. You know what I mean? It's the drugs that are killing them. It's not the words.
Totally.
And so I'm really grateful that you like stick up for your story.
Absolutely.
I stick up for my story. Sometimes when I go to stakeholder meetings, I have a special shirt that I wear, and it's in gold, like shiny stuff, and it says the word addict, clean, and sober. And you know, some people are like shocked that I would wear it, and it's just like, you know,
those aren't your people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, why aren't we shocked when somebody's smoking a crack pipe on the street and you're worried about my shirt?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you did a book
Perspective.
signing a couple of days ago. How did like?
That was kind
What
of
was
embarrassing.
Oh, embarrassing.
Well, just at first, like
It's being celebrated.
well, you know, I'm like that classic like alcoholic where it's like, look at me, no, don't look at me, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was set up by Sabrina and by the publishing house and at Chapters, which was great. And right before Mother's Day, so it was fun. I got comfortable, you know, but like at first, you know, like because I had invited like a whole bunch of friends, and you know, it was a Friday at 3, and it was gorgeous out, and a lot of people working, so there wasn't that many of my friends there, so I was a little bit like, oh. But then I was like, oh well, whatever, it is what it is, and whoever's here is meant to be here, and I had fun with it. And I actually ended up talking to you know, random people that were in Chapters, and you know, just trying to get them to come over and whatever, and I did end up meeting a few people that bought the book, bought it specifically because I said my chapter is about recovery, and you know, they, oh, my daughter just started recovery, or like, you know, my mom is a recovering alcoholic, you know, so it was cool. It was really cool to connect with people.
Did you have that moment to like, kind of, I'm doing good?
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like I'm not screwing anything up.
Yeah.
I'm not signing, you know, a bankruptcy paper. Just like I'm signing books. Like people want me to sign books. I mean, it's, you finally get that moment in life where it's just like I can move forward from here, and it's like I don't need to like worry that like I'm gonna be a bad mom. You know? And
totally.
It's like one of those opportunities where if you do the work, like it's so much more than just not picking up booze.
Absolutely.
It's so much more. Like,
just,
would you ever thought you'd be signing a book like
no, or like on the radio with you
meeting?
guys, like, you know, twice, like that's exciting in itself, you know, like I look up to you guys and what you do here, and to be able to be a guest on your show, like that's beautiful for women to want to work with me, right? Other moms and other women, like, you know, that have a similar story like me, like, you know, Kat is here, like she chose to walk with me, right? Like I'm honored, right? It's like, wow, like I look up to her, she kind of sponsors me just as much as I sponsor her. We walk together, right? And it's just like, wow, no, I cannot believe my life. And you know, that's at the end of the chapter, like I said, you know, like, you know, like we do recover, like it's amazing, and like what my life is about is not about all the things that I like want or what I thought I wanted before. It's like about all the stuff.
Like it gets to the point where you don't even want all that stuff.
No, the less I have, the better.
There's responsibility.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to run and rule everything, and then somebody's like, "Do you really want to? Like, can you imagine?" And with enough days back to back of clarity, I was just like, "Yeah, actually, I don't want all that responsibility. Like, let's share some of that." So just so our viewers know, so Kat's not just in the background, we're going to be coming back in part 2. Kat's going to be telling her personal story, so you will hear from Kat. It's just a different segment.
Yeah.
So there's moms out there listening. I know a few that are probably listening that have kids out there that are using, you know, maybe not in the sex trade, but in just doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing, or would be better if they didn't do. Let's put it that way. What's some key suggestions to people to find where you're at?
Like, well, one thing for sure is like, you know, forgive yourself, right? Like forgive yourself, and you know, you've already been forgiven. Like the God of my understanding has already forgiven us, right? And another thing is social services, like if they're involved in your life, like they can be your friend, like they are there to help you if you want the help, right? Like I was able to, I didn't see them as like the enemy, and like I don't hate the person that called on me. Like I was grateful, like that saved my life. That was a huge turning point for me, you know? And they are there to help you. There's so many resources, and you don't have to feel ashamed. And even if you've shared with like a counselor or a drug and alcohol doctor, like they're not going to take your kids away. If you're in the solution, like you have a chance, right? And people are there to help you. Like Vancouver has so many programs for moms, you know, and not just alcoholic moms, but any like parenting programs and like, you know, any struggles you're going through. It's just never too late to turn it around. Like no matter what you've done, like the guilt and the shame is just, it doesn't serve us anymore, right? Especially as moms, we have to come together. And you know, I also have a Facebook page, Soberlicious Mama Support Group, and you know, if you're listening and you want to join, like, you know, please do. There's so many moms on there from Vancouver and all over BC, and we all help each other. Is it a
private group or?
Well, it's open to like all moms, right?
Okay.
You just have to like add me, yeah.
Okay.
And then
so it's Soberlicious?
Yeah, Soberlicious Support Group.
Okay, and it's on Facebook?
On Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
And we do like really fun events too. Like I plan all these things, and also like I know a lot of moms, especially in recovery, don't have a lot of money, and that's kind of where my philanthropy comes in. I like to plan things, so I treat you so that all moms can be a part of, and it's all inclusive to everybody. And I won't say like, oh, you can't afford to come, you can't come. It's like, come to the community center. I've set this all up. Let's enjoy fellowship and each other and our kids and commiserate if we want.
You just set up a big mom's tent
Yes.
at Recovery Day.
Oh yeah, I should do that.
I mean, it's just, let's get them. There's a huge kids zone. Like the kids zone is gigantic clowns, face painters, you name it.
Okay.
The book is called You've Got This Mama Too. People can buy it where?
You can buy it on Amazon right now,
Okay.
and they might have some copies left at Chapters, or you can see me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jillian, for
Thank
being
you
on
so
our
much.
show.
Thanks
Thanks for your honesty. Thanks for your courage. Really appreciate you being on the show. And we'll have you again. Hopefully you'll have a whole book next
Yes.
time, eh?
Actually, yeah, Kat and I are working on a book called Inside Out.
Oh.
So it's going to be kind of like more about the sex trade. It's going to be different from this book. It's about the sex trade and our lives in it and out of it. And it's called Inside Out.
Oh,
so look
cool.
for that in the future.
We'll definitely need that book. Looking forward to when that comes. Thank you so much for
Thanks for having
being
me.
on the show. And now we've got Mr. Darren Gaylor, my co-host. Our co-host. Hi, Darren.
Hey, that's it. You've been listening to Talk Recovery on the Facebook Live, and stay tuned. We have Kat coming back to share her personal story with us after the first break, which is going to be by an artist I haven't played yet. This is Bright Eyes, and this is called Devil Town.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. How was that for you?
So good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye.
Bye.